Alright, this video is going to be much more of a raw talk than my past videos, and I just pray that it reaches the right people that truly need to hear this right now. And I'm speaking specifically to the man whose girlfriend just left them, or the man who just broke up with his girlfriend and is regretting that decision. And I'm making this video because I have lately felt really convicted about similar topics, and I feel like this is the kind of man that has so much potential and truly just needs a way to master it because right now he's stuck and he's sulking. So if that's you, give this a watch. This is going to be very low dopamine, but if you're able to watch till the end, you'll really find a lot of value from it, and I hope it really speaks to you. All right, so this is where you're at right now. You're spending all your mental energy sulking and, regretting decisions, wishing you had spent more time with her, wishing you had gone on more dates, wishing you had bought her more flowers, wishing that you had cared about her more. And you feel like it's your fault that she left you, like you didn't do enough, and like you weren't the man that you were meant to be. And I've been there. I've been cheated on before. And for so long after that, I was holding on to the idea of the relationship. And I was thinking, maybe she'll come back at some point. Maybe she'll say she's sorry and we'll get back together and nothing will be hurt. But I really had to dive deeply into my soul and really just decide, is that truly what I want to happen in the long term? Because in the short term, I'm chasing that pleasure, I'm chasing that dopamine from being with that girl, but that's not going to fulfill me in the long term. If I stay with her, I'm always going to live knowing that I could have found someone better, someone that was much more of that Proverbs 31 woman that, every man talks about, that every man wants. And the truth is, she wasn't actually that, and she was just filling that void inside me. So I really hope this speaks to you, and I really want to call you out here, and I want this to be harsh, and I want it to hurt, not because I'm being mean, but because I truly care about you and truly want you to grow. Because true brothers that really care are going to hold each other to higher standards and challenge our beliefs so that we grow stronger every day. And so I'm going to ask you, is that woman really who you were going to marry? And maybe, a small portion of you, 5-10% of you, really do think that she was. And I'm sorry, because there is such a small chance, especially depending on the way that she left you, or why she left, like there's a very small chance that you're ever going to get back with her again. And it's not worth begging and trying and thinking that you are. Because I'll talk about this later, but honestly, you're going to take the same approach either way. If she truly is that woman and just wasn't ready for you, or you weren't ready for her, then you're going to build yourself into a man that was ready. But if she wasn't that woman, you're going to do the exact same thing to attract the right woman. But I'm going to challenge you with this question. Was she really that woman? Was she really as good as you seem to think? Because I'm sure in the moment you thought she was the greatest thing that's ever happened to you, and you're never going to get anything like her again. But just be realistic here. Was that true? Or was it just that that was what you got in that moment, and you either don't have anything else to compare it to, or that's just all you could get, so you were content with it? But like deep down, you know that, you could be having more. You could be with someone who lines up with you even better. So really, really think about that. Journal about it, pray about it, and really see, is she actually someone? Because chances are she's not that person, and you're just wasting your time, feeling bad about it, regretting it, and trying to get back with her. Because just accept it, bro. Like, it's hard to hear, but it's gone. And so many men let that ruin them. But this is a challenge for you to let that strengthen you and let it grow you. And I know it's not that easy. I know you're not just magically after this video going to go out and start changing yourself and really turning yourself into that man. But I really do believe you can. And this is a challenge to help you to achieve that. It's going to take time, but if you slowly shift your mindset from I lost the best thing in my life to I just got the best opportunity of my life, because now I have that fire, now I have that passion deep down inside me to go even harder at my goals. Now I don't have the time commitment to her, and I can spend that time working on the stuff that actually matters to me and that I wanted to get done, but maybe wasn't able to go all in on because I was limited by her. And I understand that this is making her maybe sound like a terrible person, and I'm sure she wasn't. I'm sure she was wonderful, but I'm just saying maybe she wasn't the one for you, because you maybe think she was the one, but there's a good chance that you've only met, 20 girls in the past couple years, and she was just the one that you got along with, that was more attractive, that seemed to click. And you're in a spot where you were almost desperate, or you just wanted the girlfriend. And so she was great for that situation. But once you grow and improve, you're going to get something so much better. It's going to be someone who lines up with your values. Now, to clarify, I'm not saying that that woman is below others. I'm just saying, for the spot that you're at right now, either she left because she's better or she's worse. And if she's better, then you improve into a man that can attract someone who is at that level, who is better than you currently. You're going to improve and become the man worthy of that woman. And if she was worse, then well, that's good, because now you can advance without having her pressure holding you and keeping you complacent. Now you have the opportunity to attract someone who lines up with the values that you truly want to have. Maybe there were values in the relationship you wanted, but felt limited by that girl. And now you can truly chase those without fear of judgment, without fear of, losing anyone. That way you attract the woman that appreciates those values that maybe your former girl either didn't respect in you or needed you to grow more. All right, so I want to give you practical steps for this, because you may be thinking this is great, and that's exactly where I'm at right now. It hurts and I'm trying to change. But how do I actually do that? How do I actually grow into that man? Because I can't just magically let go of those feelings and move on to something else. And here's what I'll say about that. If you don't have purpose and don't have a mission, you have nothing. Because if you don't have any goal to improve other than just proving her wrong, or just out of anger for losing her, then you're not going to have the right direction to improve. You're not going to have the proper motivations, and it may last for a little while, and it may motivate you to, get jacked to, prove her wrong, to become that guy. But that's not going to last in the long term, because those feelings are going to wear off, and then you're going to be like, okay, I got that. Like, now what? You feel stuck again. And so what do you do about it? And so I've talked about this in a lot of my Instagram and YouTube videos before. So if you've watched them before, this will be repetitive, but that's because it's truly so important. And it's that you have to align your life around core pillars. Now, for me, myself, I firmly believe that I need to have everything rooted in Christ, everything rooted in my faith with God and my Christianity, because everything else stems around that, and ultimately nothing else matters except for that, because if I don't have my faith, I have nothing. So that is the overarching core pillar. Now, there are other pillars under that that I personally live up to every single day to improve, and I'll give them to you, but it's your job after this to truly do some reflection and journaling on your own and decide what you really want those pillars to become. For me, the first one is fitness, and I would argue that this is for every single man. I believe that your body directly reflects your relationship with the Lord above, and that a well stewarded body is a direct reflection of a strong mindset and a strong faith, because your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. And if you don't respect that temple, do you truly respect God? So that's just a challenge, something to think about. I'm sure a lot of people aren't going to agree with that. That's something I firmly stand on, and I'm not going to change for anything. And, if you disagree, DM me on Instagram. I'd love to talk about it with you. That'd be, I'd love to hear opinions. I'm open to other opinions on it. All right, so I have my overarching pillar of faith. Under that, I have fitness. Also under that, I have business, because I truly believe that my calling is to help men like you, improve from a place that they're not happy with, whether that be being overweight and truly wanting to get in shape. I believe that God has called me to do that, to teach them to directly reflect God. I believe my calling is to improve men's faith with God, using my testimony and using my faith to pour into others and help them find hope, help them find motivation, and ultimately find direction and purpose to become better. So we have faith, fitness, business. And then my last one is truly family and connections. And that's something I've neglected lately, that I thought I need to, cut those out of my life to become better. But if you isolate yourself out of this anger, like if because your girlfriend left you, you begin to isolate yourself to improve and go monk mode, as all the self improvement and business guys will say, that's going to negatively affect your mental health. And that's just a fact. Anyone that does that is truly not happy during it. They're just delaying their gratification so much to a point that they are not happy at all overall. And that's just super important to fix that, and truly have connection with your family and friends, because they're going to be your best allies and your best assets in your future life once you've improved and once you are that guy. Maybe there are some that are bad influences or that are holding you back that you need to cut out, but overall, I'm sure all of you watching have at least one good close friend. And, as you're fighting through this battle over your mind, as you're fighting through this, sadness, maybe even depression from your girl leaving you, you need to press into that relationship so much more, because he's going to guide you and help you grow in every area of your life, and it's truly going to make you better overall as a person. And then your family. Now, I can't stress how important this is. Truly so important. You may not always agree with them, you may not always get along with your family, but God gave that family to you, and he wants you to steward it well. You know, in the Bible it says, honor your mother and father, and it doesn't say honor your mother and father unless you disagree with them. It just says honor your father and mother, period. And that's your whole family too. You know, they were there, and you have to honor them whether you agree or disagree with their beliefs. And I truly believe that you can mend any relationship, any broken relationship that you have with them, and can improve that to just have great family ties, and, you know, that supportive family that is going to love you no matter what. So if you don't know exactly where to go after this breakup, like you're hearing me say all of this stuff and you're like, okay, that's great, I understand, but what do I actually do? Just journal about those core pillars. About your faith should be number one overall, and then after that should be fitness, your calling or purpose, which for me is this business, but who knows, for you it could be becoming a missionary, for you it could be any sort of thing, but just whatever your passion is, and honoring God with that. And then the last thing is friends and family, you know, stewarding healthy relationships so that you're able to grow stronger through those, and able to ultimately have a group that is going to improve you and push you to be better and love you no matter what happens with this girl or future girls. All right, so the last step in this process is going to be the belief reframe, because right now I can guess how you're feeling about it. You are all negative, you feel like a victim, you feel like the world is working against you, and you can't see any positives in this experience. Now, I'm not saying that this is a good experience. I'm just saying the way you look at it can shape how you respond to it, and how you improve because of it. Now, you ultimately just have to give this whole process over to God, because ultimately, no matter how much you think that this was the right situation, no matter how much you feel like God was wrong, like God is maybe punishing you, you have to let that ego and that pride go, and just accept that God knows best, that God is always right, and that you're not, and that he has a plan for you. You know, the Bible says that God works everything together for the good of those who love him and are called according to his word. So if you're truly living for God and truly doing everything for you, he will cause everything to work out for you. Now, this doesn't mean that you're going to, start following God and then God is going to give you everything you've ever wanted, but he's going to give you the challenges and the opportunities to grow into a strong believer who is strongly rooted in their faith, and nothing is going to pull them away from that. So as hard as this sounds to apply, and as simple as it sounds, it probably sounds oversimplified, but you just have to give it to God, because you ultimately have no control over the situation. You just have control over how you react. And if you react in a positive way, then God is going to use you and build you into someone stronger, and ultimately going to keep challenging you, and you're going to just grow into a truly unbreakable man in both your mind and your body. Because you may think you have the answer to this, but you just don't, period. But God does. He's all-knowing, and he has a plan and a bigger purpose for you, and you just have to understand that and start looking this as an opportunity to grow into a stronger man of God, into a better Christian, into a more powerful man, more mature man, and a man who's better prepared to protect his future wife and children. So stop thinking of this as a negative thing that is completely bad and there's no good in it, because if you truly surrender this to God, it's going to work out for your good, and God will only grow you stronger in this. God doesn't let bad things happen to you if he doesn't have a plan for you through it. So you have two choices. You can let this break you, or you can let this grow you, and let this grow you. Now, I really hope this video helped you out a lot. I gave you many practical steps in this. I challenge you to get out your journal and just spend maybe half an hour tonight before bed just going over, what is my mission, what are those core pillars I want to live by, and what is God trying to teach me in this, and just work every day to truly become that man that God is trying to shape you into through this journey. And if you still feel stuck and you still want guidance, then you can go ahead and book a call below with me, and I can give you a more in-depth plan that is going to be tailored to you, because my passion is truly to help men, build unbreakable minds and unbreakable bodies. And through that, that means overcoming these challenges, overcoming temptations, sins, vices, whatever it may be. So go ahead and book that call down below, and we can talk through the next steps to building an unbreakable mind and body. Be sure to like this video for the algorithm and subscribe, because I'm going to continue to post videos about mindset, faith, health, performance, longevity, everything that's going to improve men in the long term and build them into unbreakable men. So subscribe, feel free to follow me on Instagram, feel free to DM me with any questions you have, and stay tuned for the next video. Thanks for watching. Peace.